made one of the greatest sacrifices, which is to give up his life. His father told him, I've been commanded to sacrifice you, and he said, okay, you'll find me patient, inshallah. So he's saying, learn of that patience and that adherence to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then someone like Hussein, who radiallahu anhu, who really faced a lot of political turmoil, and he chose basically to fight for the shahada and to not tarnish the ideals of Islam. So his vision was that young Muslims should aspire to become the ideal of Islam and humanity, and basically one who absorbs within himself as many good qualities as possible. So, there's other philosophers out there that you'll come across in school, and it might seem interesting and exciting. Someone like Nietzsche, again, who talks about this godless Superman, and that extreme individualism and pseudo-secularism and this commercialized capitalism is your wealth and your strength. But Iqbal's idea of kind of a superhuman was different. His idea was that basically a mu'min is a firm believer in God, and this gives him really strong abilities to be able to be fearless in life in any aspect. So he's saying when you take in this kind of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have self-confidence and dynamism, which basically elevates you to the highest human potential. So once you attain this kind of enlightenment and you become, kind of a khalifa on earth, then you can fulfill this mission of kind of establishing justice on earth out of God's infinite mercy and boundless love and grace. So this idea that whatever you're putting forth into, go as far as you can because you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala behind you, and as long as you have a firm belief in Him, then you can go far in whatever, kind of area you choose, and you can move forward. For youth, he used the metaphor of Shaheen, which is like a falcon or an eagle, and he basically used this to refer to young Muslims. So basically he was saying, there's a constant struggle to contribute to the Islamic cause of serving humanity at large. So he basically thought there's a dichotomy in society. There's vultures and then there's like falcons and eagles. So don't be like the vulture who basically just preys on other people to get energy. Be like the falcon and the eagle. So he stated that Islam encourages Muslims to travel constantly like falcons in order to resist over-dependence on an easy, comfortable way of life. So he said, the falcon is a self-reliant member of the shifting world of birds. Therefore, he does not build his nest on a fixed spot. So in this way, you can see he kind of references the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, be in this life like a stranger or a traveler. So in this way, he's saying, Iqbal is telling youth to be like eagles. Be like kind of leaders in where you are. You're able to be by yourself. You're able to, kind of take command of situations. And you're able to exist in different areas. So he also really described the pitfalls of modern Muslim and Western societies, because keep in mind he had been there and he had seen it in front of him. So he said he offered immense hope to young Muslims, but he also kind of cautioned them to be critical. And basically he said his message was clear that the new dawn, so basically kind of this new world that would come from young Muslims, could only come from modern youth who are capable of overthrowing the shackles of kind of external like materialism and reawakening their inner fire, which was love for God. So in a poem addressed to a young man, Iqbal wrote, "Your sofas are from Europe, your fine carpets from Iran. My eyes weep blood when I see such pampered ways among young men. For what are rank and office, and what even the pomp of Khosrows, when you neither like Ali brave the new world, nor scorn it like Salman? Not in the glittering modern world is that contentment to be found. It is the splendor of the true believer, his ladder reared on faith. When the eagle spirit is awakened in the youth, its destination appears to it far off in the skies. Hope on. In despair is the decline of mind and soul. The true believer's hopes are among the confidence of God. Your resting place is not in the vaulted palaces of kings. You are an eagle, built your nest upon the mountain rock." So with Iqbal, his idea was about positivity. So he's saying a lot of the times we can get mired down and look around the world and feel really depressed and feel really in despair. But he's saying have positivity, and have positivity that you can be the change. So don't kind of sit and feel bad and look for others to change things. You should try to find that fire within yourself and be positive about it. And he also prayed, so through poetry, he kind of wrote out a prayer to God, and he said, "Give the young, O Lord, my passionate love for you, and give them the eagle's force to fly and see. O Lord, I pray that you bequeath to them the power of vision that you have given me." So just kind of, I guess, wrapping up a little bit, he was really kind of, when he talks about education in youth, he was really frustrated with this idea of separating secularism and religion, even in the Muslim world. And he says, this fails to make Muslims that are like falcons. He said, I'm seriously disappointed with those in charge of running our schools, because they are training them to lead a life of lowly and aimless wandering, devoid of any serious devotion to a worthy cause. He really believed in everyone having a purpose in their life. And, of course, the purpose can be found in our deen, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for him, he was really kind of sad to see youth that didn't have a strong purpose, and a purpose that basically tied together their secular pursuits, so in whatever field that they chose to do, while also continuing their knowledge in the deen and doing these things side by side. So he said about youth, he said, "Mohabbat mujhe un naujwanon se hai, sitaron pe dalte hain jo kaman." So I have love for those young people who pull the stars down. So essentially, those young people that are reaching for the stars.
May I correct this word, Sheikh?
Please do.
मोहब्बत मुझे उन जवानों पे है से है सितारों पे जो डालते हैं कमल.
Wow, perfect.
They who throw their
Like nets.
nets on the stars.
Thank you, Jazakallah khair. Yes, so essentially, basically those who are reaching for the stars and reaching for new heights. So at least they're trying. So, he's saying, maybe you won't achieve every single thing, but at least you're trying. You have the fire to keep trying. And so he has really a lot of love for those youth. He really rejected the idea of separating politics and human relations from faith, ethics, and morality. So a lot of time you'll find in the Western world, they really kind of try to pull you away from moral reasoning, from having empathy, from having these kinds of basically underpinning humanity in all the things that you do. So for him, he said you can't separate politics from humanity. You can't separate economy from humanity. Every single thing has to have humanity present in it, because that's the way of a Muslim, that's the way of our deen. So he was saying, divorcing religion and politics is a bad idea. You're not going to get a good end in that. He also foresaw what most Muslims face. So he said, basically he was really scared of having dependence on alien ideas and ideologies, and subjugation to the whims of those leaders. So he said okay, a lot of the imperial powers have a lot of technological superiority and opportunities and challenges because of globalization. So he kind of felt like people might feel that they're behind, and that they suffer an inferiority complex. And this mentality that basically they'll just kind of bow to whatever leaders they are because they feel bad about themselves. So he was saying, basically, nationalism and patriotism just to geographic borders is a very Western idea. And it's not something that Muslims should be doing. Because he said then you kind of create these new gods for yourself, and this self-delusion where basically humans are still trapped in the same old magic of worshipping idols, whose armpits are still hiding the images of gods of the primitive era. So, what he's saying is, he's been, he studied in the West, he understands all the ideologies, he's come in contact with them, they were his contemporaries, they really thought highly of him, but he's saying, don't get caught up in it. Because it's just going to be something that you bow to, it's not going to be something that helps you. You already have the ideology of Islam with you, use that and ground that to push yourself forward. So there really is so much to say about Iqbal and his perspective on the contemporary world we're living in, but I'll end here for now, and with this last writing by Iqbal. So he said, he, the mu'min, is mild in speech and wild in action. Be it battlefield or the assembly of friends, he is pure of heart and action. So the greatest tragedy of us learning about Iqbal and reading his works is not putting them into action. So Iqbal was against complacency, and one of the greatest ways that we can learn from his works and be inspired by them is putting his ideas into action, so which were fundamentally ruled by the principles of the Quran and Sunnah. So we can't just read about him or read his works and leave it there. We have to use it to fuel us, to push forward and actually put efforts out into the world and put actions and deeds out into the world. So with that, I'm going to end. Jazakallah khairan for your attention and for listening. I think what we'll do is we'll take a quick break where you can grab some food and drink, pray Asr if you haven't already, if you need to, or pray Dhuhr rather. And then we'll have a bit of a short documentary, and then we'll do some discussion, and kind of we'll open the floor to see what you guys have to say and what we can learn from so many people here who know Iqbal very well. So Jazakallah khairan.